We're two hitchhikers. We met while hiking Mount Baldy with mutual friends, wasted no time, got engaged on a frozen alpine lake, got hitched, and have been adventuring together since. We're embarking on a new adventure of living big in a tiny home. Let's see how this goes.
Adventure awaits.
Days here feel much shorter than we were used to down south, making return drives from running errands much more prone to rain and snow. Although we haven't had solid snow for a couple of weeks, the sub-freezing nights here bring on frosty mornings. Our ice chests are kept outside and ironically don't just keep our foods ice cold. The ice chests actually keep our foods and drinks from freezing. If not for the local animals, we'd likely just keep our food outside. But inside we are staying warm and cozy, which is especially helpful in this current project. Shower pan, we are finally tackling you. Once the waterproof barrier is in place, we can move on to the shower pan base, which first needs this wire mesh to provide structure to the mortar mix once it sets. We are applying foam sealant to the corners and potentially weak and or compromised areas.
Well, I'm just going to put the ABS glue here and ABS glue there. I'm going to put it in, but I have to go underneath and push up so that this can seat properly. So I need you to hold it.
Out of all of the projects we have worked on, this has been the most daunting, mainly because water issues can be one of the most damaging to the integrity of a living space. We want to be sure that our approach makes the most sense for what we are doing. I'm holding it. It's very thin.
Yeah. There he is. What is that, 4-pointer?
Now that we have the shower pan prepped, it's time to mix up the mortar. Keep in mind that we still don't have running water at the casita, so we still have to drive to the other side of the property to pump water and haul it back. This is how slow I am going to make sure the water doesn't spill out of the bucket. Another example of why a pickup truck would be good on this property. One day. In all of our online research and going down the rabbit hole of YouTube to figure out the shower pan liner process, We found many different recommendations from professionals and contractors about whether to use deck mud or Type S mortar. We determined that deck mud seems to be used more often. However, in our local area, Type S mortar is the preferred approach, so that is what we went with. The shower pan base needs to be angled for proper water drainage, so here we are using the measured 2x4s we cut as guides. This will allow for a 1/4 inch drop per foot. Now our standard showers and tubs will have this specific angle to allow for proper drainage. If we don't have proper drainage, the water will end up sitting there, and that will not only be gross, but it could cause a lot of potential damage down the road. The reason why this angle isn't any steeper is to prevent any possible slipping and accidents. So next time you're standing there watching the water go down the drain, you can think about this fun fact and maybe thank your contractor or builder who put it there for you. Or not. A final check shows our angles are spot on. So it's time to walk away to let the mortar set, and what better time is there now than to food prep for dinner? Today I'm actually going to do a little different approach to the typical cooking that we've been doing up here. For most of the summer, when we were up here, we did a lot of grilling of our meats and ate a lot of salads and grilled vegetables, which was great. And now that the weather has turned cold, we've been doing a lot of stews and soups because it's just something, that I can quickly chop up and put together, and it warms us up entirely. And the dishes are very simple when I'm making something in one pot. But we're wanting something a little bit more cozy and something that we can actually bite into and not just, kind of be mushy. Even if it is a hearty soup, it's still soft. So anyhow, I really wanted to braise a roast, and I'm going to attempt doing this my dad's style. It's a beer roast. And in order to braise something, you first have to sear it in, right? And then you have to slow cook it for a couple of hours. Well, that uses a lot of fuel, and we're just buying these canisters. So I really was trying to think of another creative way to do it, and thought about our tiny wood stove. So it is small, but what I'm doing is I am searing the meat on our camp stove and then putting it in the cast iron skillet with the lid and placing it on top of our tiny wood stove. So the wood stove itself can hold an external temperature of somewhere in the range of 350 to 450. Those are the safe zone. And sometimes we'll put a tea kettle on top to heat some water. I'll often put my ceramic coffee mug on there to, keep it warm while we're doing stuff. And I thought, well, if it can keep the cast iron pan kind of warm, maybe it'll hold a temperature of, 175 to 225, somewhere in that range. So I'm trying this. I'm going to go ahead and braise this meat. I'm going to sear it, add the vegetables, add the secret ingredient of beer, and put it on top of the tiny stove and see what happens. So I don't think it's going to be ready in 2 hours as it typically would if I were to put it in an oven and slow cook it. This might be 3.5 to 4 hours, but let's see how this goes. If you notice, our mini wood stove has a bit of a guardrail that sits about 1 inch above the surface. Now this is great because it helps prevent any accidents of knocking over a tea kettle or mug that might be sitting on top. Now the skillet we have is larger than the surface area allows for, so it actually sits about 1 inch above the wood stove itself and doesn't come into contact with the hot surface like it normally would on a regular wood stove. So our optimal temperature we are reaching for is not likely going to get as high. All right. What is the temperature at? So internally, it's 530, which is good range. Around 400 on the outside. And the cast iron pan is currently at 150. 150. So I was hoping for 200, but let's just hope for the best.
Whoa. Spoon, no.
Hopefully it's not too tough.
Maybe
it looks tough.
Spoon and a fork. Be nice if we did it with the knife.
It should just fork away anywhere. It's still a little tough, huh?
Yeah.
Dang it. So it didn't quite cook high enough. For 150 for 4.5 hours is not long enough. I probably would have to do it for 6 on top of that.
It's cooked. Nice, though.
Yeah, but it's not the tender pull away.
See.
Well, it wasn't terrible. You didn't have to like...
Yeah, no. Ooh,
It actually looks better than yesterday.
Yeah, so good.
All right, you gotta see. It only went another hour and a half because time got away from me, but it's still not pull away.
It's not pull away, but oh, yes, it is. All right. Oh, this one has a tendon in it. That's why.
Okay, but on fork only.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
You approve?
Mm-hmm.
Success isn't always attained on the first attempt. In fact, more often than not, success is a series of small wins outnumbering the guaranteed setbacks and the drive to see the outcome through to the end.
Where'd my wife go? There she is.
Some days here feel like we just ran around in circles, and other days feel like we accomplished an epic feat and we celebrate in our own little ways. This next week, we'll continue on the restroom section and hopefully get the floor ready for some tile. To see our progress, be sure to check back next Sunday. As always, thank you very much for following along with us on our journey. See you soon.